Hello, friends. Hello, hello. My name is Janessa Oriel, and I am head of Amy Seller Enablement here at Sell with Amy. And I'm really excited to be able to be here live, as always, on Thursdays to be able to dive into something in particular with the Amy app. And today, this is sort of a follow up from last week. Last week, we did a lot, I shared a lot of information. We did some deep dives, and I'm going to go ahead and expand on one of the sections that we started to dive into and give a little bit more context, a little bit more training, a little bit more opportunities for you to learn about Amy. Have you ever heard, hi Shirley, have you ever heard people say, and I'm going to use a car as an example because I feel like that's a little bit easier to understand than with the app. But if you ever hear, I have a new car and there's just so much to learn. I just know the bare bones. I'm not using it to its full potential, right? We've heard that before. We've heard that, of course, in reference to Amy, and we want to make sure that you can utilize all these features for your business because it's going to help you provide incredible customer service and also help your customers be informed on the things that really matter to them, the things that are really relevant. So, hi, Caroline. It's been a long time since I've seen you here live, I think. I've seen your name. Anyway, so I want to dive into that. Today we're going to talk about advanced filters. Advanced filters are a feature here, right here. You utilize them within the contacts tab. So I'm going to make sure I'm pointing the right spots. Right down here, you can see contacts tab we've selected. You can see all the contacts here. Now you can see this advanced filter right here. It says filter, right? But it's advanced, top of its class. So we're going to talk about how we can utilize these and how we can dive in to figure out how many you have more contacts than 28. Unless you're just getting started, in that case, this is the perfect time to learn. For our friends who have more contacts than 28, it's going to be super powerful for you. And number one rule with using Sell with Amy, as you know, as we've shared 100 times, the goal is to give you some of the basics, but I don't want you to necessarily dive in and update everything immediately. We really want you to take it bite by bite by bite. What does that mean? It means that as you sell something, if you have to log your orders, if your company doesn't have partnership, you can go ahead and update and make additions to your timeline. You can add notes. You can go ahead and update these contact labels, and we're going to dive into all of those in just a moment. But I want to share with you, it's not to be done if you have over 1,000 contacts, over 10,000 contacts. The goal is not to update all of those at once. The goal is to update them as you're having interactions with those customers, so that way it's relevant to each person. The other way that you can do it is as promotions come up, you can ask, for example, on a VIP page, hey, who is a Disney fan here? I would love to be able to make sure to share with you anything that is coming out. I don't actually know if anything's coming out. I just am using this as an example because it's very close to spring break. So anybody who's a Disney fan, let me know in a VIP page, and then people can use a poll or tally or say, I love, Disney or the whatever. And then you can go ahead and you can add a contact label and you can update that. Let me show you by sorting, by using those advanced filters here. So I'm going to select the filter, okay? I am going to go, now we're going to start with my favorite. Because we have lots of ways to filter, right? You can see we have products purchased. You can search to see who has purchased products. This is only relevant and works if you have the orders logged in Amy, whether they come from your partnership or whether they come from you manually adding them, okay? It's really important to note. Product sampled, same rule. Especially with the sampled for our friends that have partnership, you don't actually have samples. You need to manually log those samples that you're giving if you have samples, right? Products and wish lists. So if you have created a wish list for a particular contact, you can search and see who has that in their wish list. Maybe that item's gone on sale. You want to be able to share it with them. That's how you would use that. Notes, we'll do a deep dive on that. Location, if you're doing a delivery 3 towns over, you can search and see who else is in that location. So that way you can make sure to drop off a catalog or connect with them or so forth and so on. Birthdays, if you do a birthday club, that's for you. Last purchased, so this is more in terms of who last purchased, last contacted. And then down here, we're going to scroll because there's a couple other things down below the fold here for me. Show uncategorized contacts. This is helpful as you're doing your updates. If you want to see everybody who does not actually have any categories associated with them, maybe you imported your phone book. I'll do this one really quickly. So currently all my customers are categorized primarily because I like to demo exactly what we're talking about right now. And then the last one down here, show contacts missing all contact information. The goal of this is to make sure to connect with those contacts and get that information in there, okay? So we went over the overview of all the things that you can filter by, and we're gonna do a deep dive into categories first, and then I'll take a peek at what questions are being asked, because as always, I love to answer those questions. We have all these we have all these contact labels here for you, okay? So if somebody's labeled as a customer, listed as a customer, we have a variety of options. Yours may be slightly different, just depends on your company, but in this regard, in my demo here, we have customer prospect, meaning that they're interested but not yet purchased. This is perfect for any party guests, for example, or anyone who's filled out your contact form but has not yet purchased. We go ahead and give that label. Now, if they make a purchase and that's listed in Amy, they automatically get moved to customer. Why? There's a purchase in their timeline. Amy's really smart, friends. Again, there's some additional options here, preferred customer prospect and preferred customer. You may or may not have these. My demo account may be different than yours, and that's totally okay. It doesn't mean you can't still utilize what's there and available to you. Team and recruiting. So recruit prospect. Obviously somebody who you're interested in having join your team. You can list your sponsor in there. You can list a previous team member. That's great for people who maybe were on your team at one point in time, and then you want to be able to reach out to them with specials and treat them as a customer, so that way they still have the opportunity to purchase the things that they like. Right? And then team member, if you select team member, I'd like to point out that downline pops up. The goal of this is if you select level 1 for any of your team members, you get 3 reminders each month, beginning, middle, and end of the month, to say, have you set a goal? How are you doing towards your goal? At the end of the month, we're going to say, I just want to make sure that you have everything you need to be able to achieve that goal. And are you planning for the next month? That's me paraphrasing. Shouldn't be a surprise if you've watched the lives before. If you haven't, welcome. Thank you for joining with my very quick speaking chaos, but you will catch on and I promise it will help, okay? Recruiting funnel. So this may or may not be, again, in yours. If it is, you can utilize these appropriately. Hosting, again, same, depending on if you're a party plan, this is available or not, right? And then other, this again, may or may not be interested. 2 quick things on this here. Anyone who is selected uninterested, we will not actually generate Amy to-dos for these individuals. This is essentially the don't contact me version. So if someone says, please don't contact me, go ahead and select uninterested so you can still keep a tally, but we're not going to send any to-dos your way for that particular individual. And if you select me, if this is your contact, you want to make sure to select you, because that way we are not going to prompt you to follow up with yourself on any purchases that you may or may not have made. That's why it's there. Now, down to my favorite, custom labels. Yours will not look like this because yours you will need to populate yourself. This is a pro feature. Heads up before we get too excited. I believe there's one, you get one if you are not on pro. Otherwise, if you're a pro, you can create whatever category makes your heart happy. So I'm diving into this one because this is where it can be really helpful, especially with limited time offers and special releases and things like that. I am selecting Disney fan here because I created that category when I'm giving you an example. Maybe I asked previously in a VIP group or at a party, who's a Disney fan here, and then you would go ahead and list everybody as a Disney fan. Let's say that there's a Disney related release. Again, there's not. I don't know what company you're with. I'm just using it as an example because it's a well-recognized brand. Maybe I shouldn't actually use the name of it, but that's a whole other topic. And then I'm going to go ahead. Once you select what you want to see here, okay, when you want to see all the Disney fans, okay, you're going to hit apply. Quick note, when you hit apply, you're applying that single contact category label. I can see here right at the top that I have 5 contacts found. If I wanted to do a dive into some of these others and like add additional categories, it actually makes it, if you use multiple contact categories, okay, it means and. So if I did like Disney fan, as we've already said, and then maybe like a VIP group, and I apply, it automatically is saying it's like Disney fan and VIP. So it's pulling from both of those. I'm sorry, this is or. So it's either Disney fan or in the VIP group. It doesn't mean both of them together. Okay, that's for categories itself. The rest of these are and. So we'll do that in a minute, but I just want to dive in here. So first I want to show just with the Disney fan. And then I'm going to go ahead and get to the questions because I'm confident there's some. Once you select what you want to see, you hit apply. And then it's showing you the number of contacts available. It wants you to apply that again. You need to apply it again in order to see it. Now at this point, I can see my Disney fans here. They're listed here. How did I know that? I asked them, and then I added the contact label. Ideally, either asking in a group setting or asking individually and then updating them as I'm having contacts with people. This is how you can go ahead and make sure to share if there's a Disney related release. I would reach out to these people individually as opposed to spreading it across the VIP group because as we know, I had 28 contacts and only 5 are Disney fans. How do I know? I asked and then I tracked it in Amy. That's the beauty of this filtering, okay? Let me check really quick for comments and then I'm gonna do a deep dive into, we're gonna talk about notes next because notes are super relevant. Questions? Oh, just people saying hi, excellent. Caroline's been on replay for a while. We like to call our replay our hashtag after party. Beth's here from Central Illinois. Hi, Carol. Julie's tagging a friend, Melissa. Hello to you both. And Elizabeth's saying good for subscription groups then. Yes, so you can utilize these contact labels for subscription groups for sure. Woo, for someone who used to have a lisp, that is a tricky one. Okay, so for example, we've talked about our categories. I'm sorry, our contact labels. So, and our categories here. So again, these are custom labels. And I'm going to do a quick dive into, let's look at Andy here so we can see where they show up. These contact labels show up here. Okay, that's where we filter for here. So they're all going to show up. I can add as many as I want here, right? I just have to hit the plus. Let's hit a plus and let's give him another. Let's see, let's say he likes dogs, right? And let's say that also is into plants and baking, and he's not a teacher, right? Bonus points for anyone who knows where I pull some of my names from, because we'll reference that additionally. So then they just add here, right? And then you can filter by them as you see fit. Next up, let's say I did a question in my VIP group or among friends or wherever, and I said, what are your plans for spring break? Here in California, that's coming up very soon. I know some friends are already on spring break and whatever. So let's say that I asked and then I took the time and added some notes to some contacts. I selected, I'm sorry I did that fast. We went to filters and now I'm going into the notes. Now I'm going to look for something really in particular. I'm going to look for spring break. Because when I entered the notes in, I used the word spring break. Now I'm going to, again, apply. So when I apply it, it's going to show me we're searching for spring break and there's 3 contacts found. So I can go ahead and select that in just a minute because spring break shows up in 3 notes, okay? If I wanted to add additional, ignore the categories, add additional of these, okay? If I were to add additional anything, their birthdays in May or something, right? If I were to add some additional information, it would be so it would be spring break and their location is in Florida, right? Or Illinois, right? Anyway, sorry, Indianapolis. Oh my gosh, I don't remember where the show's from. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead. Again, you have to hit apply again. Important to note. Apply. When I do that, I pull up the 3 people who I have listed that have spring break in their contact, okay, in their contact notes. So I'm going to go ahead and select right here, Leslie. Nope, I'm going to look spring break plans, Hawaii, okay. So if I wanted to connect with her, I can go ahead and filter and then I can easily connect with her. We're going to look at Ben Wyatt. What a surprise, heading to Hawaii for spring break. So again, different note, but it's doing that search. Andy Dwyer. There's actually another one that oh, interesting. Oh, heading to Palm Springs for spring break. But look, that was last year. I should pay attention to that. Oh, no, that wasn't last year. That is this year. I should also pay attention to the year. So you can see I have that. I totally forgot I put that note in there. There was another one that I thought I had, so I'm going to reset the filters and see if I can find them. There were 2 other contacts that I was going to do. Let's just look for spring. 3. Okay, so now sometimes when you enter things, it doesn't necessarily enter it as you would want. Reset the filters. I'm going to look at my friend. Who am I looking for? Donna. What did I say in the note? Ah, do you see this? Here's a perfect example where I was searching for spring break and I did not include in this note for Donna that she's going to Disneyland for spring break. I said Disneyland, treat yourself. And she's going with Tom. Again, it just makes me smile, friends, when there's an underlying theme. Disneyland, treat yourself. So I didn't actually use the word spring break, but I would want to edit that. Let's edit it because I want it to say for spring. And this is a good example where what you enter matters. And we're going to go back to Donna because it means if you don't include the word that you're going to search for, it's not going to populate. There we go. So now, of course, back to filter. Again, we're going to go into notes and we're going to do spring break. Okay. Apply. Remember, we hit apply twice. Apply once, apply twice. Now we have, please pay attention to the man behind the curtain. Ideally, it will find those two that I just recently added. I'm sorry that it didn't right now. It's because the internet webs sometimes like to mess with us, but it will find it. It's just not necessarily logged those yet. It's okay. All right, back to my how to add contact label. Thank you for asking that. So, oh, Beth Lewis, you're new and just and love the app so far. Join January 1st. What a 2022 year it's going to be for you. Really excited to have you here. And I'm excited that you're here to learn because our goal is to help increase your knowledge week by week, bit by bit, to be able to utilize the app to the fullest. So thank you so much to Ellen to ask how to add a contact label. Let's jump into Ann Perkins. And I might have already answered this, but I'm going to give it a go anyway. So Ann, you can see her name is here. If you want to edit her contact profile, you just hit edit. But if you want to just add a contact label right next to customer right there in pink, it's a plus sign. So I'm going to hit that plus sign. And then you just tap the ones you want. So let's say she's a recruit prospect and she's a host prospect. And let's say that she loves things for the home and plants. She's a teacher and has a tween or teen. And she's a cohort of mine. She likes red. Okay, so you can add however many you want. If you want to add a label down here, what should we add? Beach theme. Or loves the beach. Let's add one of those. Beach. Okay, so you type it in and then you hit return and it automatically adds it for her. Once you add a contact label, it'll actually be available for all your other contacts as well, which is helpful, right? So now look at all these things we just added to Ann. Isn't that fun? It's so exciting. Thank you so much, Ellen, for asking that question. Let's see, newbie here. Still learning this Amy app. Nancy, never stop learning. I'm so happy you're here. I have hours and hours and hours of trainings, both here on Facebook, but also on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/sellwithamy. And so if you want to learn bit by bit, feel free to learn, walk through the trainings. We also have a help portal in the app. You go to Account tab, Resource Hub, and then there's the help portal right up at top. This is a great way if you have questions on using contact labels, for example. We can go ahead and labels, custom contact labels. There you go. It teaches you how to do it. So if you ever get stuck and don't want to search for a training, go ahead and dive into our help portal article. If you're looking to expand your Amy knowledge, that's what I'm here for. It's my favorite thing to help. Okay. Thanks so much for joining and using us. So consistent wording. Yes, Elizabeth, as you're entering notes for your contacts, you want to make sure to use consistent wording for whatever you will search for, right? So you want to make sure if it is a subscription, you can obviously add a contact label for that, or specifically you can put a note for it if you're going to search notes. There's more than one way to achieve the same goal. I prefer custom contact labels. I think it's much, much easier. Advanced filtering, I believe, is also a pro feature. So some of these may not be available to you, these contacts here, or not contacts, I'm sorry, these filtering options may not be available if you are on our starter plan, just as a heads up for you as well. So if you have additional questions, Please feel free to drop those questions in the comments, whether it be on Facebook or on YouTube. Again, this training went longer, but it's a big subject, and I wanted to be able to walk through it for you. I wanted to be able to share that you can filter in a number of different ways. And I also wanted to make sure that as you're filtering, you need to make sure to hit apply, until you get to your results page of the number of contacts available in those categories, okay? Elizabeth says, I noticed that some of my contacts didn't transfer over. So can I manually add someone? You absolutely can. But before you do that, I strongly encourage you, if your company has partnership, which I'm suspecting it does based on your question, I encourage you to connect with our support team by emailing support@amy.co. You can find their email also in the resource hub by scrolling down at the bottom here. We have their email address there. So that way you can connect with them and find out what might not have come through and why. Right? But yes, you can absolutely manually add contacts as well. That is absolutely an option, whether it be manually one at a time. Maybe you send your customer the contact form. We've talked about that in the past. So if you send your customer a contact form, they fill their information in for you. You don't have to manually type it in. Or you can upload a group of contacts by uploading a CSV. The ways to do all those things are actually in the help portal, so I strongly encourage you to look into those as well. I will drop some links after we're done, okay? Thanks so much for joining me today. I appreciate your time. I do want to give a quick heads up. I actually will not be live next week on April 7th. I will be right back here on April 14th. Speaking of spring break, I'm taking some time to be with my family and my kiddos because they're getting big. And so I want to be able to spend time with them while they mostly still want to spend time with me. So I hope you have an incredible end of the month. Today's the end of the month. And if you're watching this on the replay, an incredible April, right? It's coming. It's on its way. So I hope you have an incredible April, and I will see you mid-April, April 14th, for our next live training here at Sell with Amy. Thanks so much, friends. See ya.